influence of technology and personality resides a select group of individuals. Those individuals are known as technologists, and they put their thoughts on the line for you.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the On the Line podcast with Cohesity. I'm Judd Wallace. I'm a staff technologist here. And today I'm joined by our esteemed guest, Teresa Miller, the Director of Technical Advocacy Group. You want to say hi, Teresa?
Hey, everyone. Judd, thanks so much for having me on as a guest today.
Oh, no problem. We're always excited to have you on. Today we want to cover an interesting topic. I think, you've heard AI in the news everywhere. It's pretty much what's hot and what's trending. And today I wanted to maybe have a discussion about, the future of work and, how that's changing the way we work, with us working remotely, talk about automation and talk about how AI is actually, impacting us, for the good and for maybe for the worst. But I kind of wanted to pick your brain today and see what your thoughts are. First, probably, where are we today with technology? What's the state of the industry? These are probably two of the first questions I'd want to kind of poke a stick at and see where we are. What do you think some of the current trends or technologies are today in regards to remote work and kind of how we are doing things?
Yeah, so I think that we've seen a huge shift, at least in the recent past, where I think more and more workplaces are looking to get people back into the office sometimes. Which I think is really interesting. But it's not common across all of IT. There are plenty of organizations that are fully committed to just being remote. They gave up their offices. So you've got this mixture. You've got a little bit of both from that perspective. And so to me, that says some organizations really figured it out and figured out that their employees were more productive. In fact, I was talking with one of our customers that had said, yeah, we leverage a tool that shows productivity in the collaboration set. And we're looking at outputs of the amount of work being done. And we're getting way more done than we were when we were in the office. So you're getting a little bit of both from a home work from home perspective.
So in your mind, you would think that we're actually have the ability to be more productive at home?
I think I am. I know I am. But I think every organization has to make that decision for themselves. I think they have the ability to do so, and organizations are proving it. On the reverse side of that, some organizations are trying to pull people back into the office, at least on some smaller cadence. And I think that probably has more to do with relationships, working relationships, and making sure that people really know each other and take that time, right?
Yes. So that leads me to that, we were talking about, there's always pros and cons to anything we do. And I think that's definitely a pro is the whole in-person team building, cohesion, or you saw I kind of poked that word in there. That camaraderie,
Mm-hmm.
and friendships and all those other good stuff. Zoom, I think all the Zoom meetings, with the exception of if everyone's had their camera turned on, you do kind of lose some of that, right? And I did read in the news recently, though, some companies they're not being so nice about it. They're kind of telling people, hey, you have to relocate and come back into the office. You can no longer work remotely. And I'm not sure how I would handle something like that. How would you handle a situation like that?
Yeah, so in full transparency, I think that some organizations are doing that because of the economic landscape,
Hmm.
and it's almost a form of attrition in a sense, the ones that are pulling people in, from that perspective. I those companies making those decisions, it's a business decision. It's not
Person.
personal. It's just how they're looking to run things. So, um, yeah, it's kind of a tough one. Unfortunate. Uh,
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think most companies are too big to, to be making these decisions as if they were personal. Like, if we were in high school and we were, making friends and unfriending people. But like you said, I think it's just a business decision. But you know, that kind of also, there's also concerns that they want to bring people back into the office, because of security reasons. And some of those security reasons I think are indeed valid. I'm wondering what your thoughts on the, the security aspect of people working from home are, with all those different networks. If they're not using the company VPN, I mean, these are things that you kind of have to worry about. And I think IT infrastructure personnel, this is a lot to juggle and balance. I mean, what are your thoughts?
yeah, so I think thankfully there's been a lot of practice now here in the last few years since
Hmm.
people were mandated to be at home, but it's certainly not foolproof. MFA with FIDO2 is critical these days, not just standard MFA.
Right.
Um, I think corporate issued devices are definitely more secure than leveraging personal or allowing like bring your own device. That's my opinion. I'm sure others would potentially disagree, but some of that does depend on how you're allowing access to your software. For example, are things mostly web based, and do you have a solution that brokers that authentication? Um, the network side of things is interesting too, right? Because my home network is secured to the best of my abilities, right?
Right.
So then the endpoint, it really comes down to whatever work enforces on my device, being a remote employee. So, what are your thoughts on security as well?
I think the technology has come far enough with, some of the things you mentioned with MFA, mobile device management. I think these are all kind of default tools that companies are using these days, especially on the medium to large size enterprises, right? I mean, you still have to worry about, the occasional person. You don't want to lock it down too much to where they can't do their job, right? I mean, then again, some say if security is not somewhat painful, then you're probably not secure enough. But I don't know how I feel about that sometimes. You do have to get your work done. But there's still issues with, even on corporate devices, people signing into their personal email, and you got to worry about, certain, phishing attacks and stuff like that. I mean, I think there's still some loopholes, but I think a lot of that might be, you know, uh, resolved with, just continuing that training that I think a lot of people are doing with, simulated email phishing and social engineering, and saying, hey, I got you this time. So maybe next time they won't. If it's a real attack, they won't actually give away any information. So.
That's such a good point. I think that simulating those attacks on a regular basis for educational purposes is a must-have at this point. I mean, we've seen it.
Mhm.
The thing I think that has me concerned at this point is you look at AI. We and I just see how some of the attacks are now leveraging AI, and I unfortunately can't remember the name of one. A worm GBT
Mhm.
is one. So you've got to have so many layers of security but you need to educate your users because that
Yeah.
threat vector is just vast and ever changing and just more advanced than we've
Yeah.
ever seen.
I mean, things are moving at light speed, or I like to say ludicrous speed. And with kind of leading into you started talking about AI. I want to get into that a little further, but there's a little bit of overlap when you kind of talk about automation, and how does that affect the future of work? So kind of coming back around to people saying, "Oh, well, the automation and AI, which, like I said, can overlap. Automation is going to put me out of business." I think sometimes there's confusion with automation and AI, but the concern I think for some people is real, right? Some jobs that we used to be manual, either present or in the past, have been just kind of washed away because automation just kind of took over, and it's better for the business's bottom line, and it saves them money. um it's I think it's good. You can get away with automating repetitive tasks. I think it'll help with other avenues, within the business unit. What are a couple things you think might automation might actually help and not hinder?
Yeah, I mean, so let's just if I step back in time when like PowerShell was first released, and
Hmm.
I feel like the same conversation came up like, "Oh no, like, is my job going to go away?" And
Again, a
at the
type
end
of
of
automation.
yeah, and at the end of the day, scripting, whether it's PowerShell or not, takes
Hmm.
time, requires people. Now, the caveat to that, though, is AI can
Hmm.
write scripts.
That
And
overlap. Yeah.
yep, yep. And oh, AI can write papers. And like, I don't know. I'm a little old school that way. I prefer to figure it out on my own. But let's just say some of those activities become um, the automation of the future. It's
Hmm.
not to me. It's not going to remove people from the equation on everything. There's always more work. Like that's almost like a spell checker. Spell checkers did Having a spell checker in your computer didn't take away someone's job. It made your life easier. And I think that with AI, we're going to find that in time there will be capabilities that will just streamline workflows that maybe somebody did do, but there will always be more work in a different capacity, or it will always need a human to double check it. Like I don't know if I would take it as is without giving it a review or putting my own voice on it or my own scripting. So,
I I kind of tend to agree with you. I think there's always going to be a human element to these things. But I think it could really help businesses, kind of remove that human error on some of these repetitive tasks that we do now. And then people could focus on other things, not necessarily lose their job. It might change. They might have to pivot, how they do things. But I think, like you said, I think that could be a benefit. I think that could be a positive thing. I'm not really one of those doom and gloom. I see the benefits of automation and AI. Don't get me wrong. I don't have my head in the clouds. I know that there's a danger to every technology we use, especially when the internet first came about. Everybody said, look at this shiny brand new thing. It's going to just change the world. Well, they didn't realize it could also change the world for the bad. And it has. It's not like it's a 50-50 thing. There's shades of gray here.
yeah.
So,
Which responsible AI is part of that too, right?
right.
Because there's a scary side to AI that's not moderated or secured necessarily because um, it's open.
It is. And I know Congress is about to, they're actually actively talking about this, right? The responsible AI. And they're talking with leaders of companies right now to, how are we going to go about this? Is it going to be A document of ethics. I'm not sure I really agree with that. A list of ethics. I mean, uh, I'm not sure if we need laws or it's just, a list of ethics and principles we want to abide by, and it's, the honor system. I'm not sure, honestly, what route would be the best route for people putting these kind of checks and balances in place when it comes to how they use and implement AI. Do you?
I don't have a full-on answer, but I look at it this way. Like security, you have the CISA.gov guidelines for how
Hmm.
you should implement security. I think this is an extension of that.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be interesting, but
Yeah. I don't think we can account for all the bad actors. All we can do is try to do the right thing where we can, and mitigate the bad actors as best we can, and hope the agencies that we have in place, that it's their job to you know thwart these type of attacks and stuff, will they'll have the tools they need to do so. But so we kind of talked about some of the trends and issues, which kind of the future of work, people going back to work, people some staying remote, automation, is it going to take my job, is AI going to put me out of the job as well? I think we're kind of landed on some of these is really just redefining roles, not necessarily the job market's just going to just fall out. I don't think that's going to be the case. But what do you think are some of the future trends, you know as we the future of work and the landscape of how we kind of do our jobs evolves over time?
yeah, so just a few things to like fall like in the categories we focused on today. I think remote work is here to stay. I don't think everyone is going to be mandated back to offices. We are more than productive remotely in most cases. I think that AI is here to stay. It definitely needs some guardrails, and it can do some things that are concerning. But I think with the awareness that we already have in this short period of time, I think things will get get under control. Hopefully sooner rather than later. Um, and, I think at the end of the day, organizations just really need to up their security postures, be on top of their security programs, and the rest will work itself out.
I agree. I think if they kind of stay with some of the tried and true security measures like two-factor, MFA, and you know I think that'll be adequate for kind of keeping us secure, at home and abroad. And when it comes to automation and AI, I agree. I think we'll just have to learn like we did. We'll have to hopefully walk before, or excuse me, crawl, walk, run when it comes to AI, because unlike the internet, I think this is a little more. I don't want to say scary. I think it's something we should be a little more cautious of than the internet itself when it first came out, because this is something that could really explode for the betterment of humanity. But like we discussed, it can also have a dark side to it. But I tend to be a little more on the positive end of this, and I think we're going to be okay.
Yeah.
um, I've seen some things in the news that really, some of the technical trends that that they've been currently working on, and they're still working on in the future, when especially when it comes into the medical field, where it's increasing breakthroughs in like pharmacology, and how quickly they can come out with life-saving drugs for incurable illnesses and things like that. I mean, it's really cool. And I think if we kind of focus on how it could help us as opposed to how we can use it or leverage it to hurt someone, I think we'll be better off for it. So, but also on the other hand, we can also use it to fight those bad actors on the other hand. I mean, I think I think we'll be okay. I don't know what you think. You think we're going to be good with AI and automation and all that jazz in the future?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think this has been an outstanding discussion today,
Yeah.
Jed. So perhaps we wrap things up.
Yeah, I agree. I think we covered a lot of ground today, and again, everyone, thank you for joining us for another on the line podcast talking about the future of work, and we hope to see you soon. Everyone, have a good one.
Thanks.